there! My name is Tori Lupinek, and you are listening to The Unclassical Musician, the podcast empowering the new generation of classical musicians to take risks and live a fulfilling life. Each week, we dive in headfirst into a topic on the minds of young professional musicians and come out the other side with a new perspective on life as an artist. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Unclassical Musician. It's just me again today, and we are talking about taxes. Yes, that's right. It's that time of year again. It's tax time. It's tax season. So this episode is airing on March 16th, 2021, which means you have just about 1 month left to do your taxes for the year 2020. So I thought it was only fitting to do an episode on taxes for musicians. So this is kind of going to be like Taxes 101. We're not going to go like super duper in depth, but I am going to share with you some things that have enlightened me over the past few years as a working musician. But before we dig into it, I wanted to real quick highlight a review of the show from the Apple Podcast app. Special shout out to Kit Kat Meow Meow 1. I think I know who this is. Not sure if they want me to read their actual name on the air or not. So here's Kit Kat Meow Meow 1. Tori brings up topics that are useful and relatable for musicians in and out of school. I would definitely give this a listen if you want to listen to a podcast that showcases real content for anyone who is leaving school or struggling / feeling stuck with their career at the moment. Thank you so much for leaving the show a nice review. Good star ratings and reviews actually do make a world of difference when it comes to shows being more discoverable on the Apple Podcasts app. So if you are enjoying the show and haven't left a star rating or a little review yet, I'd super appreciate it. I would love to do more of this, of like giving little shout outs to people who leave nice reviews on the show. Literally, it takes 2 seconds to just tap your stars, and you don't even need to leave a review that's more than a couple of sentences long, you know? So if you have the time, if you're enjoying the show, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And now let's dig into this content for today. So I took a music entrepreneurship class in college, right? It was a great class, learned a lot, lots of good hands-on stuff. We spent 1 day on taxes, which is enough to get you started, for sure. But there's definitely some hands-on learning that has to be had there as well. If you are anything like me, I am always paranoid that the IRS is going to come after me every year and repossess everything I own, all of my flutes, everything I own, because I somehow unknowingly cheated on my taxes. As a lowly gig worker who is not even close to breaking $100,000 a year and paying actual real money in taxes, the logical side of my brain knows that I have nothing to worry about. The logical side of my brain knows the IRS is not going to try to audit me. I know this. Luckily for me, I am now in a unique position where I will never have to do my taxes again, because I am engaged to an accountant who has been doing my taxes for me since we met. If we're being honest here, this is the only reason why I keep him around. No, I'm just kidding. I love Robbie. Thank you, Robbie, for doing my taxes. I love him. I really wanted to try to get him on the show for you this week, but unfortunately, it is tax season, and Robbie is working like insane, crazy hours right now. So instead of hearing his lovely voice, you're stuck with me today. But I'm going to share with you the most helpful tidbits that I've learned about my taxes as a musician since being in the workforce and hanging out with an accountant. Disclaimer, take my advice with a grain of salt. I am not a tax professional. If you have real questions, like, please ask a tax professional. I can only get you so far. Okay? Chances are, if you're listening to this show, you do not have a salary. Or if you do have a salary, it comes from your 9-to-5 job, which may or may not be music related. This is where taxes start to get a little complicated. For our purposes today, I'm speaking from my personal experience where almost all of my income comes from music-related work. I will have some Starbucks income on my 2020 taxes, but fingers crossed, I don't foresee that coming back in 2021 and beyond. Oh my gosh, I physically went into a Starbucks last week for the first time in probably a year. And it was like pretty busy. People behind the counter were working hard. Everyone waiting for their orders was spaced out. But it's triggering for me now, just being inside of a busy Starbucks and like watching people scramble behind the counter. Like, I had anxiety just standing in there. Just wanted to share that a little bit. I'm just being honest. Love you, Starbucks, but ooh. Anyway, so the most important piece of advice I can give private lesson teachers is to invest in lesson studio management software, stuff like MyMusicStaff. I'm going to put a link in the show notes. MyMusicStaff is not a sponsor of this episode, but hey, they get so much free advertising from me because I'm obsessed with MyMusicStaff. It is a great website. This stuff will save your butt. It costs $12.95 per month, and let me tell you, MyMusicStaff is worth every single penny. Not only does it help keep all of your students' and parents' info in one place and helps you with your scheduling and your invoicing and all that, it also helps you track your income, your expenses, and your mileage. You can track all of your music-related income on this platform. So at the end of the year, you can ask it to create tax reports for you that show your revenue, your expenses, and your mileage. This info is super important when it comes to doing your taxes. Obviously, how much tax you owe is dependent on how much money you make. Your expenses and your mileage lower your take-home pay, so you actually owe less money to the government when it comes time to pay your taxes. My fiance, Robbie, works for a mid-size accountancy firm in Houston, and every year, he tells me I am one of his most organized clients, and it makes my tax returns super easy for him, even though I have so many different income streams. My secret is MyMusicStaff.com. Literally can't say enough good things about it. Definitely worth the money. Save yourself a lot of time and energy and frustration, and just invest in one of those music studio management softwares. You will not regret it. While we're here, let's talk about expenses. Seriously, you can expense so much. So remember, your expenses, that is what is lowering your take-home income, okay? You name it, there's probably a way to expense it. You can get a little creative here. Here's a list of the most common expensible costs for musicians. We've already talked about mileage. So this is to and from gigs or schools that you're teaching at. To and from, not just there. You get both. You get a certain number of cents back per mile. I will say in 2020, my expenses were much lower than in 2019, partly because I wasn't commuting. But on a normal year, when you are commuting 5 days a week or 6 days a week, it really does rack up. Instrument repairs, also expensible. Your monthly bill for your lesson software, like MyMusicStaff.com. Office supplies, since you're working from home now. Your new flute bag or accessories, that's expensible. Your monthly Spotify subscription, that's expensible since you are a musician and you likely use it for your work. Your new concert black shoes that you had to purchase for your live stream concert, that's deductible as well. Any sheet music that you buy. I bought a wind defender last year. That's expensible as well. Headphones or USB mic, since you're teaching remotely, if you had to spend a good chunk of change on those, you can take that out of your taxes as well. Literally, the list goes on and on. These are all costs that go along with the gig. As a self-employed individual, these are the costs of running your own business. Your total revenue minus these expenses are your net pay, which is what your taxes are based on. If you have a tax professional that you work with and you are self-employed, there's also different tax breaks for being a self-employed individual. In this past year, there's also tax breaks based on how many days you were not able to work because of the pandemic. So if you really want to maximize, or if you really want to, I guess, minimize how many taxes or how much you're going to have to pay the IRS in taxes this year, especially if you got unemployment or a PPP loan, this is probably the year to seek out an actual tax professional. And do it soon because you've got a month. Here are some non-standard expenses that not everyone knows about. Business meal. If you talk about your business or a new business venture with a friend over a meal, part of that meal is deductible as well. If you pack a lunch to take to school with you while you're stuck there teaching all day, 5 days a week on a normal year, 1/3 of your grocery bill is tax deductible. If you have a dedicated room in your house or your apartment that you run your business out of, a portion of your mortgage or your rent payment is deductible based on the square footage of that room. If you have a dedicated bathroom for students and parents to use, that percentage of your water bill is deductible. If you pay an accountant to do your taxes, that's deductible. If you are self-employed and you buy your own health insurance, your monthly health insurance bill is deductible. Any tuition you pay for an event that is considered professional development, like if you pay a tuition for a summer festival, if you go to the NFA convention, virtual courses, all of that stuff is tax deductible if you can claim it as professional development. On a normal year, you can definitely also add in the plane ticket to get to the festival as well. Working from home, maybe you bought a printer, that would be tax deductible. Or if you physically go to Staples or Kinko's to have stuff printed off, like if you're making an audition packet and you pay for the binding, that is also deductible. Again, the list goes on and on. If you keep track of all these little tiny deductions, they really do add up at the end of the year. You will save yourself so much money by doing the extra work of keeping good records throughout the year. You do have to keep good records. This is where MyMusicStaff comes in. You can keep track of all of your expenses on there. They say you have to be able to keep track of all of your tax information for the past 5 years in case you get audited. MyMusicStaff is a great way to keep all that information in one place because they keep your studio reports, like your tax reports, on your website for you. Literally can't say enough good things about it. But speaking of money, because taxes, of course, are like all about money, please, please, please make an effort to save 20% of your income each month to go towards your taxes. That means if you are also saving 20% for your savings account, like we talked about in the budgeting episode a few episodes ago, this means you're saving 40% of your income. That sounds like a lot of money, right? I mean, it's almost half of your money. Almost half of everything that you make, you have to save. But let me tell you, the first year I was working a lot and actually making a livable amount of money, I was shocked by how much I owed in taxes come April 15th. Shocked. like thousands of dollars. Because I'm an independent musician, I'm self-employed, not all of my gigs have taxes taken out of them, it was thousands of dollars. And thank goodness I had been saving, because I would have had to drain my checking account to pay my taxes. Yikes, no one wants to do that. So if you do pay your taxes annually, you have to make sure that when it comes time to pay the taxes that you have the money there for them. I'm now going to tell you about quarterly tax payments, which can really save your butt as well. If you want to avoid that shock of having to fork over thousands of dollars to the government every April, there is an option for you to pay your taxes quarterly. Quarterly taxes are based off the previous 3 months of the year. So they're always due on the 15th of the 4th month. For instance, your earnings for the first quarter of the year from January 1st to March 31st, so that's 3 months, that payment is due April 15th, same day as your annual taxes. The second quarter is from April 1st to May 31st, and that quarterly payment is due on June 15th. So 3 months, and then the payment is due on the 15th of the 4th month. This info is all Googleable. While we're talking about deadlines, actually, I should mention that the state of Texas, the due date has been extended. I believe it's July 15th now. Yes, July 15th. Just wanted to double check. Anyways, for me, it's much more manageable to keep track of my money by the quarter and make 4 small payments throughout the year rather than having to constantly be saving for the big one in April, and I might not really be sure how much I'm actually going to owe, right? Safest thing to do is to just be saving 20% of your income if you're like me and you don't have taxes taken out of your gig money. It's super easy to make quarterly payments. You can literally do it through the IRS online. Very simple. Last but not least, there is no shame in hiring a tax professional to do your taxes for you if you are like me and terrified of the IRS. I know a lot of people use the do-it-yourself tax software like TurboTax and stuff like that. As a musician, sometimes our income can get a little hairy, especially if you have multiple income streams. So if it feels a little bit overwhelming to you, just remember that your fee that you pay your accountant is also tax deductible. So it's really not working against you to actually get a professional to help you, just to have that peace of mind. Also, one more thing, rest assured, according to all of my accountant friends, the IRS is not trying to audit independent classical musicians, because we don't make enough money. That's about all I have for you for taxes today. I hope that you do not sleep on this and wait till the last minute to get your taxes done for this year. Like I said, remember, if you collected unemployment, or if you got a PPP loan, or if you're interested in getting some other tax breaks this year because of the pandemic and not being able to work and being a self-employed individual, you're definitely going to want to seek the advice of an actual CPA. Real quick, I also wanted to remind everyone about Patreon. If you're interested in being a member of the exclusive Patreon community and contributing to the production costs of the show every month, you can check it out, patreon.com/theunclassicalmusician. If you're looking for less exclusive information, we've also got a Facebook group of unclassical musicians, and you can also follow the podcast on Instagram if you follow the hashtag #theunclassicalmusician. Of course, you can also follow me on Instagram. I'm at Tori Lupinek Flutist. Before you go, next week is spring break. So I'm doing a rebroadcast of the social media episode, which was episode 10, called Pivoting Online and Virtual Networking for Musicians. And I'm bringing this back as a refresher course to help prep you for an upcoming episode with none other than Nicole Ricardo, social media marketing queen, also flutist, also based in Texas. That conversation is going to air on March 30th. If you want to get to know Nicole a little beforehand, you should definitely look at her Instagram, which is a study, literally, it's a perfect study in how to use the platform to your fullest advantage. She even teaches a course on how to use Instagram to market yourself and sell your products and services. She's really fabulous at what she does. Flutist or not, you should really check her out on Instagram. She's at Nicole Ricardo, and that's Ricardo with 2 C's. Of course, I'll put a link in the show notes. I will also put a link in the show notes from MyMusicStaff.com in case you're not using that, which I don't know why you're not. I know spring break is coming up for everyone here shortly, whether it's this week or next week. So I hope that if you're on spring break, you actually get to take the time to take a real break. That's what it's for. That's why it's called spring break. Take a break. I also hope that everyone is being safe and healthy. And I will be back next week with that rebroadcast of the social media episode in case you haven't listened to it yet. I'll see you then. Bye.